So, is this something that's on your radar for next year? You might call it an accessory dwelling unit, maybe a laneway home, or just a good old-fashioned backyard office. Whatever you call them, these little structures are making a huge impact. And it's really not hard to see why.
I mean, the appeal is pretty obvious, right? Especially in a place like BC, a backyard studio can be a total game changer. Think about it. A little extra rental income, a dedicated home office, finally, or, a space for multi-generational living. It could even be that creative studio or gym you've always wanted. It's really all about unlocking the hidden potential of your property.
Okay, but before you even think about breaking ground, there's a really critical update you've got to be aware of. The BC Building Code got a major update in 2024, and these new rules, they apply to every project kicking off in 2025. You can kind of think of it as your new playbook for building smarter and better.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Great, more rules, more red tape. But here's a much better way to look at it. This new code is like getting an updated operating system for your studio. Seriously, it's not just about bureaucracy. It's designed to make your new space safer, way more durable, and more efficient, right from the very start.
So, what's actually new in this operating system? Well, first up, and this is a huge one for anyone living in BC, is seismic design. Look, we all know we live in an earthquake zone, right? So the code now has much stricter standards to make sure your studio can actually withstand seismic activity. This isn't just a nice to have, folks. It's an absolutely critical safety feature. All right, next on the list is energy efficiency. The new code demands better insulation and just, smarter ways of building to reduce heat loss. And honestly, this is a classic win-win situation. You save money on your energy bills, and you minimize your environmental footprint. What's not to love about that? And rounding out the big three, let's talk about something called lateral bracing. Basically, this is all about the reinforcements that go inside the walls of your studio. The best way to think of it is like a sturdy skeleton that keeps the whole structure from shifting, twisting, or collapsing during high winds or, you guessed it, an earthquake. It's a really key piece of that whole seismic design puzzle and a massive step forward for safety. Okay, so now that we've got a handle on the new rules, let's get down to the foundation of your project. And yeah, I mean that literally. Choosing the right foundation is probably your first really big decision. And here in BC, with our, let's say, unique climate and soil, it's an incredibly important one. So when it comes down to it, you're looking at two main options. First, you've got your concrete slab, which is pretty much exactly what it sounds like, a single, solid concrete base poured directly onto the ground. The other option is a pier foundation, which uses a series of vertical pillars to actually elevate the whole structure off the ground. And this is where things get really interesting for us here in BC. A concrete slab, for instance, can be pretty vulnerable to our wet ground and this thing called frost heave. Basically, that's when water in the soil freezes, expands, and pushes up, which can cause some serious cracks in your foundation. A pier foundation, though, it lifts the whole building up, which makes it an excellent choice for our often damp ground and those hilly, sloping lots we see everywhere. So what's the bottom line here? Well, you can't just flip through a catalog and pick a foundation. The right choice is 100% about your specific property. That's why getting a professional soil test done and having an engineer design your foundation isn't just a good idea. It's really the only way you can guarantee a build that's durable, safe, and actually compliant with the code. All right, once your foundation is all designed, you are ready for the next big hurdle, the permit process. Now, for a lot of homeowners, this is easily the most intimidating part of the whole thing. But trust me, if you understand the steps, what looks like a big bureaucratic maze is actually a pretty clear roadmap to getting your project done right. So your permit journey pretty much looks like this. Step 1, you prepare and submit all your detailed plans and documents. Step 2, the municipality reviews everything to make sure you're following local bylaws and, of course, the new building code. Then, as you start building, inspectors will come out to the site at key moments. And finally, you get that all-important final sign-off. Done. So what are the common tripwires to watch out for? Well, things like incomplete applications or drawings, not quite understanding the local setback rules, or just getting caught off guard by municipal review times. Oh, and not planning ahead for those inspections. All of these can cause some major delays. The key to sidestepping all this, it really is just one word: preparation. The permit process isn't just about safety and local rules anymore. There's another really big shift happening in BC construction, and that's all about building for a greener tomorrow. The regulations are definitely evolving, and the best way to look at this isn't as another challenge, but as a really smart long-term investment in your property and, the planet. And really, it all kind of boils down to one powerful number: zero. That's the ultimate goal of BC's super ambitious zero carbon step code. This is a whole new framework that is completely changing how we think about the environmental impact of all new buildings, even the small ones. Okay, so what does that actually mean for your backyard studio? It means that pretty much everything, from the materials you build with to the energy your studio uses day to day, is going to be looked at for its greenhouse gas emissions. It's a complete top to bottom look at your studio's carbon footprint from the day you start building to years down the road. But here's the really good news. The building industry is innovating like crazy to keep up. Just like this quote says, we're seeing all these amazing new materials, like low-carbon concrete mixes, that are making it easier than ever before to meet these new standards and build a studio that's genuinely sustainable. All right, let's do a quick recap of the key takeaways here. If you want to build a successful backyard studio in 2025, you've got to master the new building code rules. You need to choose your foundation based on a professional look at your specific site. You absolutely have to plan out your permit process carefully to avoid those delays. And finally, you should really embrace these new green building rules as the smart, long-term investment they are. Look, building a backyard studio is so much more than just a construction project. It's a real investment in your property and in your future. Yeah, the standards are higher now, but that just means you have the opportunity to build something truly exceptional, something that's really built to last. So the only real question left is, what will you build in your backyard?